Infuse these health skills into your mental health instruction to better equip students to manage their own mental health. Hey health friends, Janelle here, founder of Project School Wellness and your guide for all things comprehensive skills-based health. In this quick video, I'm going to outline how you can teach the skills in the National Health Education Standards when teaching mental health. So one of the things I advocate most to health teachers is to not just connect one health topic with one skill, rather to connect all of the skills to one health topic. So that's what we're gonna look at today in terms of mental health. And we're gonna actually start with standard number 7. Now you may be wondering, why are you starting with number 7? Start at number 1. So why we are starting at number 7 is because I believe the skill of self-management envelops all of the other skills. So self-management is the end goal of health education, right? We want students to be able to manage their own well-being. And I believe that all of those other skills outlined in the National Health Education Standards support a student's ability to manage their own well-being. So that's why we're starting with number 7. And basically, to recap the skill cues for self-management, it is to pause, reflect, and act. And basically what we want students to do, we want them to be able to pause and create space so that they can actually think. Then we want them to reflect internally, and then we want them to act intentionally. So where the piece comes in that's a little bit, that may vary from skill to skill, is that internal reflection. We want to give them a framework for internally reflecting. Now, in general, they could use the BEST model, but specifically when looking at mental health, we want them to use the mental health bucket as their tool to reflect inward. So that for that first skill of self-management, what we want students to be able to do is we want them to pause. We want them to then reflect internally and evaluate their mental health in relation to the mental health bucket. Then we want them to act intentionally by either trying to turn off a faucet or to do something to relieve or lower the water levels, or to use the language associated with the mental health bucket to go and communicate a need to someone. Now, that is kind of getting ahead of myself in terms of skills, but that's okay. So let's look at the next one. So now I'm going to go to standard number 1 and think about what is the functional knowledge that students need to be able to apply. So the functional knowledge that I recommend applying in terms of teaching mental health is understanding the difference between mental health and mental health disorders. And I have that link here. You can click that. And the second one is to analyze influences on health. So again, we can go back to that mental health bucket. If we want to help students practice and build skills of analyzing influences, we could have them look at their mental health bucket and define, hey, analyze what's impacting your mental health bucket. Maybe it's that they are using a coping mechanism that they're, surrounding themselves with that's not actually sustainably lowering their water levels, and they need to actually, shift that influence. Or maybe there's an influence that is adding a lot of pressure or a lot of water into their mental health bucket, whatever it is. So that is an exploration activity you can do with your students to help build that skill of analyzing influences in a way that really authentically connects to them learning how to manage their own mental health. The next skill we want to look at is accessing valid and reliable resources to support health and well-being of self and others. So if we think about this, what do we, in terms of mental health and mental health disorders and just mental well-being as a whole, what do students need to be able to access? So a big thing is going to be able to access valid information and to check the information that they are finding, because we know a lot of people are self-diagnosing with TikTok or with other social media. So that might be an area where we can have students do some exploration and analysis of, is this a valid resource? Is this person educated? Is there bias? Is it supported by evidence and all of these different things? That you can have them do some exploration in terms of where they're getting their information. You also can have them practice accessing valid and reliable information if they are maybe exploring mental health disorders or looking into different resources. So you could actually have them practice seeking out help from different resources and sources, like through a lifeline or through a local health provider, or maybe with someone connected to the school counselor, the nurse, someone like this. So they're actually practicing that process of accessing resources. So the next skill is interpersonal communications. So there are a number of ways you can bring this authentically into a mental health unit. So you can have students practicing using the language that they learn from the mental health bucket to explain what's going on with their own mental health. You could have them practice interpersonal communication skills as they are seeking help from different sources. You could have them practice interpersonal communication skills as they are supporting a peer who is in the midst of a mental health struggle or mental health crisis. There's lots of different ways you can bring interpersonal communication in. So the next skill is decision making, and something that I think you could do here is kind of flip it around a little bit, and instead of having students make a decision about their mental health, have them consider their mental health when making a decision. So as part of their decision-making framework, have them consider, how is this impacting my mental health bucket? That could be a reflection, or it could be a reflection after a decision is made, or it could be something that you challenge them to do as they are making a big decision and preemptively looking at, hey, how is this decision going to potentially impact my mental health bucket? The next skill is goal setting, and goal setting, again, is something you can use similar to the mental health bucket and have them consider as they are setting a goal how the outcome of that goal or the process of working towards that goal is going to impact their mental health. Or you could actually have them look at their mental health bucket and have them set a goal in connection to maybe the faucets in terms of what's putting water in, or a goal in terms of a coping mechanism that they are going to enact that is going to sustainably lower their water levels. And those are just two different ways you could bring in goal setting in a creative way that also really authentically connects to building mental health knowledge and skills and confidence. So that last skill is advocacy, and there's a lot of ways you could bring in the skill of advocacy to talking about mental health. Now, some examples, you could look at it in terms of advocating for yourself. So students practicing setting boundaries and protecting their own mental health in terms of, you can have them, I'm all about connecting it back to the mental health bucket, to giving them a very clear and concise way to understand what's going on. So those boundaries could be in terms of coping mechanisms they're using. It could be boundaries in terms of the faucets that they want to be adding water to their mental health bucket. You could also have them do, a bigger advocacy project where they are, advocating for mental health awareness or some sort of mental health support at school or something like this. You could have them do a school project evaluating school policy that they feel is harming students' mental well-being, and they could be, it could be a big advocacy project that, maybe changes some policy at school. There's so many different ways. All right, teachers, so those are some ways that you can connect all of the health skills to your mental health instruction. And if you are interested in those, I actually have lesson plans that are connected to many of these different things. I'll drop the link in the description, and you can check out the Project School Wellness mental health resources. And if you have some other ideas, drop them in the comments. I know other teachers were always looking for more creative ways to be able to serve our students. And thanks for tuning into this video. I appreciate your time, and I'm so grateful for your work that you are doing to help save students' lives through health education. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video.